Welcome back, it's me, Lou, and I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are looking at this. Marvel Studios Spider-Man. This comes from Hasbro, and this is a new line of toys. As of this recording, it's August 6th, 2021. So, it's the story behind this figure and why and how I got him. I was at Target the other night with my best buddy JC, and we're combing up and down the toy aisles, and I was actually at the store the day before, and I saw this new line of figures. So this is the budget Spider-Man toy line, and you're talking about $9.99. Unfortunately, though, the price on these figures, they increased by $1. I talked about this in another video. So this guy rang up as $10.99. And if I remember correctly, the previous budget Spider-Man line was at $9.99. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a price increase or what's going on. But it was kind of, for me, it was kind of a turnoff that these figures jumped up in price by $1. And that was enough to put me off from buying the figures the first time I saw them. But when I went back to the store the next day with my buddy JC, I'm like, I need to leave with something. And I remember there was a Mysterio figure, this guy right here. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is the same budget Mysterio figure that we got in the last toy line, the Spider-Man Far From Home. So I'm like, I missed out on him the first time. At least I could buy him this second time around. So while we were at the store, I'm like, remind me, JC, I'm going to pick up a Spider-Man figure. And as I went down the toy aisle, there was another dude there, another collector. I'm guessing he was maybe a teenager, either a senior in high school or a freshman in college. But it kind of surprised me that it was a younger collector, and he wasn't fixated on the Marvel Legends. He was actually going through the budget figures. And me and him got talking, and this guy was telling me that, to his knowledge, he was saying that the vendors were putting out these figures a lot earlier than they were supposed to. He was telling me that that's the reason why he was there, because he heard that the figures were out, and he wanted to grab them because supposedly I'm not sure if Target broke the street date or whatever, but he was telling me that, yeah, these figures, they're not supposed to be out yet, but for whatever reason, some people are selling them now. And he was excited, and he had a handful of them. He had, I think, the new red costume Spider-Man and the new black costume Spider-Man. I passed up on those the day before just because I looked at them. They looked cool. I might get them, down the road, but for me, it's like, with the price increase of just the $1 was enough to turn me off from them, just because they were $10.99, and when I was looking at them in the store, I don't remember them having a lot of accessories, and the figures, for some reason, they just look kind of small. And I'm like, let's pass on these for now. But this dude was excited about them, and he grabbed them, and I'm like, I'm just here for the Mysterio, just because I missed out on the last movie. So yeah, here's my Mysterio, and as it says up here, this is indicative of Mysterio from Far From Home. This isn't Mysterio, because I don't think he's in the new movie at all. I don't know anything about the new movie. I've been trying to keep my eyes shut. I just want to be surprised. So in terms of the packaging, this is that budget Hasbro package for the figures. So it comes on a bubble on a card, and it's about the same size as those Avengers Endgame and Infinity War budget figures. It's roughly the same size as the Gamerverse Avengers figures. And the package design, it's very similar to the budget G.I. Joe figures, which I have right here. So this is kind of a tease, here I am like, oh look, I have Snake Eyes. So be on the lookout, there's going to be a Snake Eyes review. So yeah, here we have Mysterio. I love the package design of the budget stuff. It's very eye-catching. For me, as soon as I walked down the aisle, this thing kind of screamed at me. I'm like, oh, dude, look at that. You see Spider-Man over here. It's nice and bright and bold. As much as I love Marvel Legends and Hasbro Star Wars Black Series, the packaging, they're so blah. It's just plain black, and they're those boxes that are, you can open them and reseal them. But there's something very cool about these carded figures, especially when they're on a bubble. It really takes me back to my youth when I was a kid, and I say this all the time. For me, collecting action figures isn't always just about the action figures. It's about the entire experience, whether it's hunting for the action figures, going on toy hunts with your friends. And for me, this the mere act of opening a bubble off a card, it takes me back to when I was a kid. And, it might have been a Toy Biz figure. It might have been like a He-Man figure or a Star Wars figure. That minute when you rip the bubble off the card to get at the action figure, for me, it's kind of cool. Like, it's cool to get like a premium $25 figure in a box, but, you open up the box very carefully and you slide the tray out because you don't want to wreck it, because you might want to keep the box for later. But for these cheaper figures, it's a fun thing because, once you rip that bubble off, it's going to tear everything. So it's kind of a commitment. And I kind of like that. So, yeah, I don't know, I'm being nuts, but here we go. So this is a fun package. And you have this weird thing that says mystery web gear with a big question mark. And I'm not sure if that's part of the selling point, because if you look at the box, it covers like 1/5 of the front of the packaging. So if you're a kid and you're into like surprises, I guess that's going to be a thing. But in all honesty, which kid collects toys nowadays? Kids are into their video games and mobile games and like that kind of stuff. But I don't know. This figure looks really cool. I regret that I passed up on him the first time. But I've been on this kick lately the past year on these budget figures, whether it's like the Avengers Mech Strike or like, stuff like this. There's something cool. There's something cool about this, a toy being a toy for toy's sake. With some of these other figures, it kind of like, on one half, it feels like a collectible. On the other part, it feels like a toy. I like stuff that's just like 100% toy. This guy's meant to be played with. Comes with these wild accessories. They sell me on this like stupid gimmick, like, oh, what's underneath this? It's like when you buy a cereal box and you want to get at the like prize or toy inside of it. On the back, we have a picture of Mysterio. He's getting all aggro with this, I don't know, whatever he's doing, his illusion trick. And then here's kind of more of that mystery web gear. So what piece are we going to get? Do we get the weird visor? Do we get the weird flame punch? Do we get the vests or this other gauntlet? And man, I don't know why they bother with this. There's so much crap that goes on in the back of the package. Like, when I was growing up, this is where I sound like an old man. It's like, in my day, you get this cool, like, you either get like a small little like catalog here of all the different figures in the line, or you make it like a bio. But there's so much worthless stuff going on here. You get like half a page of all this legalese and copyright info. And then on all this crap here, you just get one line about the character. It says, the master illusionist Mysterio battles his foe Spider-Man using his wits and the technology embedded in his suit. And it carries on in like 4 different languages. Which makes sense, because, this toy is going to be like, these toys kind of like break barriers and people from all other countries can get to play with them. But I don't know. For me, from a graphic design point of view, I think it could be done better. They already sold me on this action figure, but give me a little bit of extra. Throw me a bio here. Maybe show me who else is in this line. Make me excited for this toy. It's bad enough that this guy's a budget figure, but make him feel premium in terms of the packaging. But I do like the photography and the design. Don't get me wrong there. I just kind of wish that, they just put more worthwhile information here. Okay, I'm going nuts. Let's go back to the action figure. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about. For me, it's like you rip the bubble off the card, and it's, it's like my childhood in a plastic bubble. So first impressions of Mysterio in the tray. Awesome. Very detailed, and I regret that I didn't get him the first time. But, I've been given a second chance, and here he is. So here's his weird illusion, kind of like magic kind of thing. It's a cool effect. And, you could share this with your Marvel Legends figures, because it's kind of made of that same kind of plastic that they use for the Marvel Legends with their kind of flame effects. And there's even if you look here, there's even a socket there. So if you have one of those like Iron Man blast effects, I think you could plug it in here, so you could make the effect even bigger. And in terms of the mystery web gear, it looks like I got the little gauntlet with, it looks like it's shooting out webs. So if you're a kid, you might be into this. As an adult, I'm halfway there. It looks kind of weird. If I didn't know any better, it almost looks like a weird armadillo. Like, here's the head of the armadillo, and there's its legs and its crazy tail. But in fact, it's actually a gauntlet. You put this onto the forearm, and here's the web shooting out. And here we have Mysterio. And I'm glad I got this. So I can't remember if I got the Marvel Legends Mysterio. I think I might have passed up on that. Because I think I have the comic book Marvel Legends Mysterio, and I'm like, I'm just cool with this, so I don't need the movie one. But then, after they take them off the shelves, I've like regretted it, and I'm like, dude, I wish I got that figure. So yeah, here's Mysterio as he looked like in the live-action Spider-Man movie Far From Home. It'd been cool if, he could move his helmet and you see Jake Gyllenhaal, but you don't. Alright, so with the budget figures, I say this all the time, don't sleep on the budget figures. Just because a figure is like a budget figure and it's not $20 doesn't mean it's not quality. Everything about this thing screams quality. It might not be at that premium level as a Marvel Legends figure, but there's a lot of care, a lot of detail, a lot of thought goes into this. It's really evident once you get this in hand. Alright, so his head, alright, this is my problem with like Mysterio. I like Mysterio he has that weird like bubble dome. But I remember in the cartoon, there was a version of Mysterio where he had the bubble dome, but I think it was only like half the bubble dome. So it almost looked like he was a headless guy with like just this dome above his shoulders. And for me, that was such a wild look. But, when they always want to make things a little bit more realistic, and proportionately that doesn't look right, just giving him half a dome above his shoulders, because then he looks like he has no head. So, the realistic thing to do is kind of give him this bubble dome, but at the same time, it makes him look like a deep-sea diver or like a, retro astronaut. But I don't mind it so much. But the detail here is wonderful. The articulation for the budget figures, it's a vast improvement than what they've given us in the past. For example, his head, I think, is on a ball joint, so not only does it turn, it goes up and down. His arms, like with old budget figures, you'd only get the rotation going like this, but they've expanded on that so it can actually rotate out. And then, even though he doesn't have a bicep cut, he has an elbow joint, which is very stiff. Alright, this one doesn't want to move. Let's try the other one. Alright, yeah, so he has an elbow joint that bends, but then it also allows you to swivel out. So even though they don't give you a bicep swivel, you can still get that range of motion, but from the elbow, which isn't a bad thing, not at all. And this one, let's see if I can get this one to move. Either it moves or I break the toy on camera. And either way, wow, this one's tight. I might have to like fix this one out later, but so either this elbow's stuck or I don't know. It doesn't want to move. That's the thing, isn't it? Like when you get a new action figure, the first impulse when you're holding an action figure, I mean, I see this with my friends all the time. Every time you get a new action figure or you're holding an action figure the first time, you just start fiddling around with it. You start moving everything because you want to see what's there. I'm not sure if it's just like instinctual or whatever, but my first impulse is I want to move everything. And then I can't. And it's really disappointing. I can't. God damn it, move. Yeah, this is really tight. And there we go. Okay. Took some muscle, but yeah. So there it is. His elbow bends and it moves. So I have the worst luck with action figures. I've said this before, like 1 in every 4 action figures I get, there's always some sort of weird stuck joint issue. So here we go. And he can like do his double bicep pose because he's been working out at the gym. So there's no waist swivel, but that's to be expected. It's a budget toy. If you get a budget figure that does have waist swivel, that's always a plus. In terms of leg articulation, I think he only kick up, which is unfortunate because in some of the newer budget figures, they can actually kick out. But this is a reissue, so I don't think it's meant to do that. There's no knee articulation, I don't think. But his boots look like it's a separate plastic, but at the same time, I don't think that allows for boot swivel. So yeah, in terms of articulation, this guy's very bare minimum. This is like bare minimum budget action figure articulation. But like I said before, there's some figures where the budget figures, they give you more range of movement, more articulation. But I'll be forgiving with this guy just because the detail is the sculpting. It's, you know, they didn't compromise on that. The sculpting's beautiful. If you look along his arms, there's some really nice striations and definition. It's really cut well, really nicely sculpted. Same with the gauntlet. There's a great texture running along the forearm. And it's not a soft sculpt at all. You know, this is a very armored, chiseled look, so it just looks really cool. Likewise with the torso, the abdomen area is cut really well. A little bit of softer sculpting on the chest, but I don't mind that so much. There's some great paint application here to make it look like his chest is glowing. I love the material of the helmet. It looks cool the way it's colored. It kind of has a very iridescent, like pearl kind of finish. Especially when you get into light, you kind of get that highlight, and it looks wild. I mean, just look at it in the light. It looks cool. His cape actually can separate. There's a peg and then there's a socket. And I think if you remove the head, you know, this cape would come off easy, but I don't think that's the case. Plugs in right there. Yeah, this is great. On his legs, great textures along his pants. As you can see here, he has a really, really rich metallic green finish on his uniform. It looks beautiful. And it complements this gold perfectly. So even though the figure isn't highly articulated, for a budget figure, I really think the paint application, this looks beautiful. This looks great. It's unfortunate that a figure this detailed and this well crafted, that, you know, if you only had the budget Mysterio and you didn't have the Marvel Legends one, it's unfortunate that if you try displaying this next to the Marvel Legends, that, you know, this figure is going to be a lot shorter. Like, I believe this is maybe like a 5.5-inch figure versus like a 6-inch Marvel Legends. But you can always say, hey, maybe this is like Mysterio Jr. or Kid Mysterio, if you wanted to. But yeah, it looks awesome. The gold, it's not painted. I believe it's that gold swirly kind of plastic. But it looks wonderful on this guy. Nice detail on the cape. There's some subtle folds towards the top. A slit down the middle of the bottom. And they kind of have it flowing a little bit. And on the inside, they didn't need to do this, but, you know, they gave us a little bit of paint application here to bring out the details in the cape. And they've carved in some seams, which look nice. And if you want to give him his crazy, like, illusion effect, there you go. It's like a crazy shield. So if he wants to, like, hypnotize, like, Mary Jane and make her remove her clothes, he could. But then he'd go to jail, because you're not supposed to do that. And then there's this thing. This is kind of a tease, because if you only have this figure and you want to use it, it's not going to snap on this guy's forearms. So you kind of need Spider-Man for that. Now, in terms of the scale, unfortunately, I don't have a Marvel Legends figure on me right now, but I do have some G.I. Joe classified figures. And they're roughly the same scale as Marvel Legends. Like, here's Snake Eyes. He's about a 6-inch figure. So yeah, here's the height discrepancy. So like with the budget figures, you know, they fall short. You know, you're talking about 5 to 5.5 inches, and you know, this is like a 6-inch figure over here. But I love the budget toys. They're toys. You know, they're awesome. They're great. They're fun to play with. They're great to display. You know, it's not gonna have all the crazy articulation, but at the same time, if you just want a desk toy, or if you just want something to put on your, you know, your shelf to display, there's nothing wrong with this. It's really cool. I'm very impressed with the paint. The paint application, the plastic, and the sculpting, I think is awesome. It's just unfortunate that he doesn't have the articulation as some of the modern budget figures, but that's understandable considering this is a reissue of a figure that maybe came out like 2.5 years ago. So it's awesome. I love this. I'm really glad I got it. It makes me want to grab some of the other figures, so I might go hunting later today and see if I can find more of these Spider-Man figures. So yeah, I highly recommend this. If I had to rate this figure numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, now keep in mind this is a budget figure, so you know, a 10 for a budget figure isn't going to be the same as a 10 for like a premium Marvel Legends figure. But for a budget figure, I'm going to give this guy a 7.5. Mostly because of the articulation. If the articulation was a little bit more modern, like some of the other ones we've gotten, like with the Mech Strike figures, or even like the bargain G.I. Joe figures that we're getting, I know the score would easily be higher. For example, this is a budget G.I. Joe Baroness figure. This is part of the Snake Eyes Origins line. This is not the classified figure, but this is a great example of what Hasbro is doing in terms of like budget action figures. So, you know, they're giving us cool play features like swivel waists that are spring loaded. She has more leg articulation for a budget figure. You know, she could kick up, she could kick out, and then she has knee bend and knee swivel. And, you know, with the exception of the ankles and like the wrist, you're getting close to like full on like premium figure articulation. So it's cool that they're giving us that with the budget figures. What's unfortunate is that this guy, it's like I said, he's a reissue of a figure that came out maybe like over 2 years ago. But it's cool. I mean, the detail's great. The sculpting, the paint application, that really impresses me for a figure that used to be $9.99 and is now $10.99. The paint application is great. So yeah, do I recommend this if you're a Marvel Legends collector? Probably not, because chances are if you're a Marvel Legends collector, you might already have the Marvel Legends version of this guy, which is a superior figure to begin with. If you don't have them, but if you're thinking about dabbling into like the cheaper toy lines, you know, no reason why you should pass this guy up. He's awesome. Or if you have kids and, you know, for example, you collect Marvel Legends and you don't want your kids to play around with them, buy the budget figures and hand them off to your son or daughter, and they could go nuts with these, and you don't have to worry about your toys suffering. Yeah. So, wrapping this up, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I greatly appreciate it. If you're new to my channel, welcome. You know, I have lots of great videos, so check them out. If you're a returning subscriber or viewer, thanks again. I greatly appreciate you coming by. And if you're one of those people that leaves me comments often, I love the conversation. You know, I love the positivity of the community. I like sharing stories about people's collections or their stories about their toys. So feel free to leave comments also. I try to get back to most of them. So until the next video, take care, buy lots of toys, play with your toys, share your toys with your friends, and, you know, just have a good time. And I'll talk to you later. Take care.